We all know someone like Suo, the guy who doesn't say much but sees everything. You can't tell if he's going to stab you or if you should befriend him because he's that gangster. For those unfamiliar, Suo is uncontested in both Drip and Mystery and Windbreaker. The eyepatch, the tassel earrings, the Chinese styled clothing. He doesn't talk all too much, unless he needs to. Doesn't matter though, he looks sick. He could pass as a silent supervillain. But his design serves more than just aesthetic. Even something as simple as his eye patch feels like it's covering more than just his eye. Everything about Suo's style is just cool. He's visually compelling and intimidating. Just look at him. He's got the Asian grandpa stance going on with his arms clasped behind his back. He's so cute that I want to kiss him. No, I don't. But truly, his aura is maxed out. Even the main character Sakura is ready to throw down. Sakura's not a dumb MC. He can see that Suo is a badass as much as we can. He looks notorious. He looks like an anime character, but in a what's up with this guy kind of way. The classmates suspect that his eye patch is from a past accident. Suo's response is to jokingly state that it's actually for sealing away a Chinese spirit. Those two critical pieces of information, an injury, even sealing evil away, both hint at hiding some type of pain. Suo never really denies anything. He just dodges the question to keep people at arm's length. Perhaps for a good, or maybe even tragic reason. Or maybe he just likes cosplaying as a pirate. Who the hell knows? He's just mysterious and chill like that. Then there's the tassel earrings and his top, both loaded with symbolism. The design of Suo seems to blend both Chinese and Japanese culture. His fashion, his stance, overall creates a purposeful look of elegance and wisdom. It all adds to the air of authority upon first impression. And I'll get into the true significance behind his appearance later. For the time being, I'm gonna blue ball you, just like the author does in withholding Suo's lore. So strap in while I do my due diligence of laying down the groundwork. Suo's appearance is fun to dissect, but what really makes him fascinating is his presence. You'll often see him positioned as a lone observer, reading the situation. Take Sakura's entering the room for example. Suo isn't the center of attention, but the visual says it all. He's surrounded, yet completely alone. He stands out by what he doesn't do, silently gathering data. And Suo doesn't farm data just because he's a nerd, he actually applies it. During his one-on-one against Shishitorin's Kanuma, Suo reads the fight before it even begins. He sees that Kanuma's stressed, which is a perfect psychological edge. Suo doesn't need to charge forward, just looking at and pitying his opponent is enough to tilt them. What's even cooler about Suo is that while he's famous for his strength, he leans towards a defensive fighting style. Suo is precise, everything that he does has reasoning behind it. He strategizes the best approach in how to abuse his opponent. Physically, it's their momentum to deflect against attacks. Strategically, it's to read the situation instead of reacting. Mentally, to talk shit. That's Suo as an observer, reading the tides, not riding them. It looks like he's coasting, but he's always calculating. The information Suo gathers isn't just on his enemies, he does it with his own team too. Except it's a bit different, because, you know, it's not like he can just stare at his friends from the back without being a massive creep. He does it anyways, but with a twist, with the power of being socially fluid. Suo gives off the impression of a cold, unapproachable figure, but he approaches people first, even cracking a joke to break the tension. Suo does this to build trust. People immediately question their first impressions. Am I overthinking it? Maybe he's actually friendly. Maybe he doesn't take himself that seriously. The moment people start trusting, Suo has full control. It's a great opportunity to plan the flow of the conversation. This time, into intimidation. He shared enough about himself, it's time to learn about the other person. Which is why he approached in the first place. So he steps closer, menacingly. Just to joke again? He's strategic for the fun of it. Maybe. Suo is much like Kuroko from Kuroko's Basketball. Both masters of the support role. Hanging back, observing, waiting for the right moment. So naturally, they share similar skill sets in misdirection and unpredictability. But here's the difference. Kuroko disappears. Suo doesn't. His presence is impossible to miss. It's just impossible to read. For instance, during the time at Pothos Cafe, everyone was confessing their struggles to build camaraderie. Suo gets asked about his weakness. He relies on his go-to method of deflection, by joking it off. Except it doesn't work this time, because it's pretty tone deaf for the situation. Everyone's trying to connect, but he's dodging a sincere moment. Nurei presses him about it, pointing out that doesn't he hate Nato? Pretty minor detail about Suo, but we take those since they're so scarce. Everyone's eyes are on the ball now. Suo is shocked, surprised as to how that information got leaked. He doubles down by joking that it's a rumor. This is key, because we learned that jokes are more than just humor. They're a shield. He's less worried about being exposed, more so than he is about maintaining control and perception. Where Kuroko specializes passing the ball unnoticed, Suo specializes in passing the conversation. He's smooth at it. He redirects the spotlight that when you really think about it, we still don't know Jack, or Suo for the matter. Suo's character is so neat because he defies any easy labels. Calm, but with unsettling intensity. Smiling, but you can't tell if he's actually being friendly. He keeps us on our toes by being consistently unpredictable, making us guess which parts of him are real. Simply put, it's Aura. He stands out because he sees everything, while letting no one in. It gives a weight to his presence and to his words. He doesn't need to be the star, because he's the one in control. But why? What's the motivation behind the need for control? Is it power? A mask? How does he genuinely feel around everyone? Personally, I think Suo's just a kind guy who had to grow up fast. His detachment feels more learned than it is an ill-intentioned agenda. When we think of Suo, there are some identifiable characteristics: maturity, politeness, and respect. There's a reason behind it all. So I'm gonna follow that thread of reasoning back to where it all began, the Eyepatch. In Windbreaker, gazes are a major motif central to the characters and the story. The perfect example is Sakura's heterochromia, having two different colored eyes. In Sakura's case, one gaze represents his loner past. He sees people, but doesn't let them in because he's got his guard up. His other eye properly looks at them, as he accepts himself towards belonging. Sakura doesn't hide from people. His eyes mean that he's becoming whole with himself. This is a huge clue because Suo is a mirror to Sakura. From the moment they met, Suo was drawn by him. They're both emotionally intelligent characters who care deeply for their friends. They live to protect them, just in different ways. Sakura's honest, reactive, and unafraid to confront others head-on. Suo is controlled, restrained. He watches before striking with precision. Sakura's straightforwardness is refreshing. His energy's still clean, despite his rough upbringing. He's willing to evolve to open himself up to others. Suo mentioned several times throughout the series that he still has to catch up to Sakura, his kindness that still remains whole. Perhaps Suo is curious because he sees something in Sakura that reminds him of himself. With all of this in mind, it's plausible to connect the dots. He chooses to cover his eye. The eye that once trusted too easily, he keeps it hidden. He's present, but guarded. So the rabbit hole deepens. Why be friends, but not fully? Let's speculate further. As we know, Suo keeps himself at a distance. It likely makes him feel safe. Safe from what, you ask? From reliving his past. He's worn his eye patch as early as middle school. If his eye patch is actually from an injury, it's possible that he got picked on. Suo's the kind of kid that gets labeled as the weird, quiet kid. Too intense? Too different? Kids make fun of what they don't understand. Suo's just being himself. But quiet gets dismissed, then mocked, then beat up, then ignored. Suo jokes that it's a sealed spirit. Maybe it is. It keeps the pain buried and the fury restrained. With the one eye that he has left, he watches carefully, not just to avoid being hurt again, but to make sure no one else goes through what he did. Because as Suo once said himself, kids won't get it until they get hit. He, of all people, would know. Wow, that's a lot, huh? Let it sink in that he's only 15. At this age in my humble life, I was zoning out in class due to a lack of sleep and stimulation. All my energy went towards hunting monsters in video games. My biggest problem at the time was juggling that and actually going outside. Suo had it rough. I'd like to imagine that he dealt with his issues by preserving his kindness. He learned how to guard it rather than becoming bitter. Suo has likely always been the quiet kid. Not the one that grows up to be a serial killer, but an introspective one. His childhood experience taught him that it was wrong to be like that. So who other than his mysterious sensei to guide him in the right direction? Under his instruction, Suo's observation skills that labeled him as a freak were instead turned into a superpower. His awareness wasn't a flaw, it was a means of protection. Suo was taught to defend himself through martial arts, but more importantly, his qualities were refined. From quiet to composed, from weird to authoritative, from blindly trusting to quietly observant. He's still the same quiet kid, just the one that never draws attention to himself. Yet, everyone feels his presence. They feel safer when he's around. Because Suo doesn't need the spotlight, he's more than happy to cover their backs. He doesn't impose on anyone, but we can tell he cares. And because he asks for nothing, people trust him, like Narei, enough to ask Suo to teach him how to fight, to become stronger for others. Suo's been through that. He actually sees himself in Narei, someone that gets picked on and wants to change their own fate. Suo takes it upon himself as a responsibility. He passes on what his own sensei once gave him, the tools to defend without losing himself in the process. Narei is a true beginner, so Suo begins with the basics, protection. He teaches him to never close his eyes, for obvious reasons. It's almost like you'll lose an eye or something. So Narei learns the roly-poly move, a ground position maneuver where Narei rounds his back in order to avoid damage. It serves more than just as defense. It also allows for the user to trip up their opponent, possibly even counterattacking to literally trip them. This is really cool because Suo is teaching more than just fighting techniques. Even his apparel, the traditional top, reflects a part of him. Suo is not just a fighter, he's a diplomatic scholar. He educates others through stillness, doing less to achieve more. Suo sharing his philosophy on who he is, to stay grounded. Don't copy people. Don't try to be flashy. You can still be strong by being yourself, but you have to stay standing in order to hold your ground. There's no doubt that Suo can stand his ground, but what really makes him stand out is his awareness. He proves his strength not just through battle and calm, but through genuine kindness. We already know that he's exceptionally observant, so precise that he turned it into intuition that he uses to consider others' needs. For example, Suo and Narei once visited Sakura when he came down with a cold, just to drop off supplies and check in on him. When he steps inside, Suo is shocked at how empty and sad the space is. Doesn't really feel like home. He asks Sakura if he's been living alone all this time. Sakura brushes it off as no big deal, since he's used to being alone. That small moment softens Suo. He genuinely empathizes with Sakura for undervaluing himself. Sakura is talking like he's someone that doesn't matter. Like he's someone that deserves illness and loneliness. Just another drop in the bucket. So Suo does something unexpected. He doesn't stick around to comfort Sakura. He leaves, out of care. He decided that the most considerate thing was not company, but to give space. He didn't want to burden Sakura. Sakura wasn't in the right headspace to receive people, especially since he has truly been alone his whole life. Suo sensed that he didn't know how to rely on people to begin with. So Suo does what he always does. He chooses silence, out of respect. That is Suo's biggest power move, caring without declaring. And that brings us to his final accessory, his tassel earrings. In both Chinese and Japanese culture, tassels carry centuries of meaning. Its complexity runs deep. Color, texture, material, even how it's worn affects its interpretation. For simplicity, the tassel earrings reflect Suo's loyalty as Furin's guardian. Take this fight for example. The powerhouses of Suo's class team up to protect a girl from a gang. Sakura and Sugiura focus on offense. Kiryu's concentrated on keeping the girl safe. Suo, he just assesses the situation. He decides that he's going to cover the girl and Narei. And subtly, but most importantly, he covers everyone else's back. No one has to worry, because his presence says, "I've got you." This is super reassuring. He's letting everyone know they only have to do one thing, to beat the person in front of them. And if they can manage that, it's unlosable. Which is a piece of cake for them, because plot armor characters are invincible. Everything that Suo does is a choice. He chooses to observe, not because he's passive, but because he sees what's needed, and it's not for recognition. Suo doesn't lead from the front. He's the heart, and the guy covering everyone's back. His strength is in protecting what matters, and that's why they trust him. We spend all this time circling the eye patch, what's underneath it, its meaning. Suo stays in the back. He doesn't eat with the group. He watches, listens, and maybe that's it. Maybe he's not asking to be figured out. He doesn't say much, but we still feel it. And maybe the real mystery is why we don't see more people like him.